When you think about studying, what comes to mind? Here's what I think you're thinking of. It's 2 a.m. and cold sweat is running down your spine. It's been hours, your eyes are crossed, and you still can't seem to remember the main export coming from the Federated States of Micronesia. But you grab another cup of coffee, scroll back to the top of the article on the macroeconomics of Micronesia, and start rereading it again. You will learn this stuff. Actually, you won't. Put down the coffee and go to bed, because whatever you're doing right now isn't going to help you learn much of literally anything, except for maybe how not to learn. And that's not at all what studying has to look like. Hi, I'm Dr. Emily Zarka, and this is Study Hall Learning to Learn. True or false? Cramming for an exam is fine if you're someone who thrives under pressure. Unfortunately for all the procrastinators out there, that's false. Cramming and working under pressure might seem effective, especially if you manage to ace your exam the next day. But try to remember all that information a week later, and you probably can't do it. Not to mention, you probably don't actually do great work under pressure. Sorry. That's just your brain tricking you into thinking you did a lot better than you actually did. For real long-term learning, cramming isn't your best bet. Instead, there are a bunch of time-honored, research-backed study skills and strategies that will help you learn effectively. See, studying is really just about learning and retaining information. So when you study and learn effectively, that means you'll remember the macroeconomics of Micronesia long after exam day, or whatever else you might be studying for. Say your interview with the director of the World Economic Forum or your first date with a girl from Micronesia. That's because effective learning and studying help build that knowledge web in your mind. It makes it stickier so you can connect new information to things you already know, build connections, and make space for more new knowledge and skills. And you can use all that knowledge and skill in all kinds of situations to have more interesting conversations, relate with more people, and understand the world more deeply. Unfortunately, when you're frantically trying to memorize the macroeconomics of Micronesia, it's already too late to turn back time. The real trick is to avoid that situation ever happening, which starts with having a plan. Like a lot of things in life, good study skills mean beginning with the end in mind. And the end is you peacefully asleep in your bed, dreaming of Micronesian exports like frozen, non-fillet skipjack and yellowfin tuna. There's a lot of research showing that working a little bit every day helps you retain information way better than an all-nighter will. Pacing your studying gives your brain time to process new things and convert them into long-term memories. This activates your hippocampus, which helps regulate learning and memories. It can also activate proteins that strengthen connections between neurons, all stuff that'll eventually make it easier for you to recall what you need to know later on. Basically, if you spread out your studying over days or weeks, you're more likely to remember things, like how frozen non-fillet skipjack and yellowfin tuna can be important for small islands. And planning ahead can help. As soon as you know the date of your big World Economic Forum interview or your next midterm, you can put it on the calendar and work backwards from there, making sure that you're giving yourself time to prepare, review your notes, and work slowly and methodically to build up your understanding of what you're learning by the time those big deadlines roll around. Seeing how everything's laid out on the calendar can also help you be strategic. A lighter week is a great time to get a head start on projects, which are a lot harder to juggle when you've also got a calculus exam and a synchronized swimming competition in a few days. Having better balance will also give you time to rest, which is important because when you're sleeping, your brain is actually still doing work, compressing and consolidating your memories, doing a lot of that science we mentioned earlier. Once you've got your calendar sorted, the actual studying can begin. And that actually starts as soon as you hear about a new topic. If you ask questions and chime in during discussions, your brain will process the information more thoroughly, which will pay off down the line. You'll also want to take good notes, and that doesn't just mean writing down everything everyone says. Instead, you'll want to write down important ideas and concepts in a way that helps you group information and make connections between ideas. One way to organize your notes is by making outlines, which means you group information as you're learning it. That'll help you understand that Micronesia and the Solomon Islands have a lot in common, but are pretty different from Arctic islands near the North Pole, like Svalbard. You could also try mapping out information, linking related concepts together. Or maybe you want to try Cornell Notes, a method that involves writing questions or overarching points next to groups of notes. Like a section called Fish could include skipjack and yellowfin tuna, but also crustaceans and all the other sea creatures island economies rely on. Try it out. Your notes from this video so far might look like this, or this, Or this. Not all of these note-taking methods will work out. The perfect way for you to take notes is the one that works best for you. So experiment. Use your sparkly gel pens and color-coded sticky notes and see which method is easiest for you to implement and helps you review information best later on. But taking good notes is just another step along the journey. Next, you'll need to put those notes to use. When you think about studying, you might think of things like rereading your notes and chapters of the textbook, reviewing slides, listening to a recording of a speech or meeting, or highlighting or underlining key terms and using flashcards to memorize definitions. But those are all passive study strategies. They don't really help you make connections or reflect on ideas. So there's no guarantee that you'll actually absorb and retain the things you're trying to learn. What you need are active study strategies that engage your senses and help you organize and connect ideas so that you really understand them. To study well, you can try active strategies like making a document where you restate ideas in your own words, draw connections, and summarize what you've learned. Or maybe you break things down using examples that are relevant to your own experience. Then you could try teaching your friends or colleagues to see if you can explain the ideas clearly, or create your own low-stakes quiz for yourself based on questions you think you might be asked. Kind of like the quiz at the beginning of this video. Or you might ask yourself something like, why is sleep important for studying? And if you can't remember, you can watch this video again to find out that it's because when you're sleeping, your brain is actually still doing quiet work, compressing and consolidating your memories. You can also build on the passive strategies you've used before and make them active. Like, don't just memorize the terms on your flashcards. Use them to build your understanding of concepts and connections between them. Try explaining the term and definition in your own words. Or take a pair of flashcards and write a sentence explaining how the two terms are related. You can also try something called retrieval practice, where you try to remember everything you can and write it down. Like, what do you remember from this video so far apart from a weird obsession with skipjack? This is one of the best ways to figure out what you've actually learned and where you still need to do some work. It might also be helpful to experiment with studying at different times of day or in different locations. What works for a night owl won't be the same for an early riser. And maybe you find that you like the silence of a library, or that you prefer the background noise of a coffee shop. Or maybe it's a combination. Maybe you like making your study guides in a coffee shop, but then you need to lock yourself into a private room so you can talk through your notes out loud without getting confused looks from strangers. Still, even the best study plan in the world can fail you sometimes. Maybe that one pesky stat about the percentage of Micronesian exports that go to Thailand just won't stick in your brain. Or you can't visualize which biome exists on Svalbard. But hope is not lost. You can triumph over these hurdles. Here, the real trick is asking for help whenever you need it and with zero shame. If you're in college, there are lots of places to go for help. In fact, you're expected to ask for help. For example, tutoring is available for many classes, or you can try your professor's office hours. Go to your professor's office hours. They literally sit there, myself included, for hours and hours a week. We are contractually obligated to do it. No one ever comes. We get lonely, and it's really depressing when you complain about your grade, when you could have just come to office hours and I could literally have given you one-on-one tutoring. I will go over your essay with you. I will tell you exactly what's going to be on the exam. Go to your professor's office hours. There is literally nothing you could do more at college than go to professor office hours. Also, fun fact, you need a letter of recommendation later. If you come to my office hours, I'm going to remember who you are. Thank you. If you're not in school, maybe you team up with some friends or colleagues, or find a mentor to help you prepare for your interview or meeting or speech or date. Research shows that by having conversations and actively discussing ideas with other people, your brain will store more tidbits and relevant concepts. And of course, we're living in the digital age, and that can be a great thing. You'll want to tread carefully here, but AI can be a helpful tool if you use it correctly. It's easy to wander into passive study territory here if you're just asking ChatGPT to explain the climate of Micronesia or make a study guide for you. But if you stay active and reflect on the information ChatGPT is giving you, you can ask follow-up questions to help break down concepts or use AI to check your work and understanding. And if you want to reflect even more on using AI, check out our video on AI for students. Developing good habits for studying and learning takes time, practice, and the willingness to try new things until something clicks. That can feel really daunting at first, but it will quickly make your life much easier. Once you've put in the work of figuring out which strategies you like best, you can use them over and over and over again until the process of studying and learning becomes much more natural and your knowledge web is thriving. And when your brain is building connections while you're happily asleep instead of cramming an ocean's worth of skipjack into it, you and your date in the World Economic Forum will be really glad you did. If you're currently in or thinking about going to college, go to gostudyhall.com for more student resources and check out our $25 college courses. Thanks for watching. See you next time.